one of the many pillar topics here on When I'm Not Podcasting, the sugar daddy, the sugar relationships. I'm fascinated by it because I really feel like we're at the point where when I look at these sugar daddy dating sites that I've met women I've spoken to, and I really haven't made time to go and meet any of these girls because most of them are meeting in other states and other areas of the country, and that's about it. Because nothing I'm doing about finding anybody local. Because for the most part, I can't find any girls that really fit something that I would have to my liking here in South Florida where I live. So I look at that, but looks like it's going to be a little bit tougher. Because right now, Google is starting to kick sugar dating apps out of the Play Store. A new policy prohibiting apps focused on, quote, compensated sexual relationships as of September 1st. I wonder who's going to be on that list. Will it be Sugar Daddy, Sugar Daddy Meet, SugarBabies.co, Seeking Arrangement? Like, which ones will fall down? I Established Men, Secret Benefits. There's a lot of them. I wonder which ones they're going to try to say are part of this new policy. So Google has announced a series of policy changes for the platform, specifically prohibiting apps related to compensated sexual relationships. Oh, what's my price? There we go. That might go right off the bat. Other changes coming to the platform include a new crackdown on inactive developer accounts. So traditionally, sugar dating relationships involve older, wealthier individuals dating and showering younger partners with gifts. Now, there's no shortage of apps in the Play Store designed around setting up sugar daddy relationships. None of them explicitly say that older men are expected to compensate younger women for their affection, but many emphasize the wealth of the men on their services. Yes, we understand that happens, but you're not going to go and police or find out what these adult, accountable for themselves, men and women are doing once they meet up. You don't know if there is actually money being exchanged. There could be, but what does the website do? What does the app do? Like, what are they supposed to do? They're not in control of what happens after the fact. They're consenting adults. They decide to meet up. They go along with it, and that's what happens. Now, the Play Store already prohibits apps that promote services that may be interpreted as providing sexual acts in exchange for compensation. But this updated wording expands the definition to explicitly include compensated dating or sexual arrangements where one participant is expected or implied to provide money, gifts, or financial support to another participant, or sugar dating. The announcement doesn't explicitly say whether the apps are being banned now, but it comes amidst a crackdown on online sex work by platforms following the introduction of the FOSTA-SESTA legislation in 2018, removing Section 230 protections for content that promotes or facilitates prostitution, which is where Backpage and Craigslist lost all the ads they used to have up there. But they've been replaced since, just so you know. They're just now on websites that are on domains outside of the country, for the most part. But Backpage is never coming back. Beyond the dating app rule changes, the search giant is also introducing a new policy where we'll see delete developer accounts remain inactive for a year, making exceptions for accounts behind apps with 1,000 installs or recent in-app purchases. So that's another thing going on. But yeah, Google doesn't like the sugar daddies. They want to get rid of those altogether. And that's quite an interesting conundrum here, because a lot of these apps, they might actually make some money off of these. Well, they're making money off the apps themselves, but there's subscriptions that are coming off as a result, and they're not going to do that at all. That's what it comes down to. It got a lot of play, but now what happens here? That's the question. I mean, does this change the way things are after the fact? Because what actually will happen here is now, if there's going to be some control after some women, let's be honest here. Let's just be adults here. Some of the sugar daddy stuff is friends with benefits or pay for play. So there could be some sexual negotiations being made by a guy and gal or whatever. Guy and guy, girl and girl. They might be being done and facilitated here. And if that's the case, some of that stuff was being done in the fact that men and women are able to go and hide behind the fact they don't have to go out in person or in public to try to, stir up some kind of a negotiation to hook up. if a guy wants to go ahead and hook up with a girl and give her a certain amount of money. Now, sometimes it's not prostitution, but this is kind of like, the fact we're going to buy you gifts and buy you things in terms for sexual favors. Now, that could still be considered prostitution if all you want, but it's still, that's where sugar dating is. It's just this kind of like this umbrella term that, is taking away the fact that it might be prostitution or some longer form of that, or escorting, where women don't want to be thought of as that, but they'll take the sugar daddy tag and they'll run with it. So these young women, what happens? What would happen if they decided to go and take this out and all together? By the way, Tinder's not part of this. That's the other part. Tinder and the other dating apps are fine. They're not going to be subjected to it. And it's also a worldwide thing, by the way. Did you know there's more than 3 million sugar daddies in India? I didn't realize that. How about that, huh? Well, either which way, this is the thing that could change a lot of things, where because of the fact we lost Backpage and we lost all these others, and the Craigslist dating portion, which I used quite a bit because to me, dates on Craigslist was actually very effective. Just saying. So to get rid of that, and if you're going to be policed as to what you're able to go ahead and do in this kind of respect, what happens? Does this kind of action happen back on the streets again? Do we start seeing an attempt to try to, it's almost like an encouragement of prostitution. Instead of having it online, now you're putting out there in the public. Because then people are going to still want to have their way to go and spend a little money to get a little action. So if they do, what happens then? Will the debauchery go out to the street once again? And, that's the kind of thing you got to think about. Will these younger women decide to do something else? Just like there's an OnlyFans. If OnlyFans is going to turn sex work or any adult type of content away, if the sugar daddy apps are going to be banned from the Google store, they'll probably be on Apple. But if Google's going to do it already, will the Apple store follow suit and do the same thing? And if this happens, what happens then? Where does debauchery go? Nobody's asking that question, but I am. And I got to keep following this and see what happens from there. And if I learn anything, I will come back on another episode and tell you all about it. Until then, I'll talk to you next time.